We talk in general about how beliefs, attitudes, and emotions are connected, but do that fairly briefly because that gets integrated into everything that we do. After the morning, then people have their first of 3 planned individual sessions. These run approximately 30 minutes in length. The first individual session, the primary focus is what does the individual expect to gain from the week. We want to make sure their expectations are reasonable and likely to be achieved, and it helps us stay focused with them on what they're working toward. The second individual session is held in the middle of the week. The focus of that is, are you getting what you want and need from the week? If not, how does the week need to change for you? Of course, we're focused on that all the time, but this makes it very specific and pointed. And again, it's coming at the middle of the week where there's still time to make some changes. And finally, on Friday, we have the final individual session, and that session is, have you gotten what you needed to get from this week? Are you now prepared to take what you have learned and are learning home to plug in to your home situation? And if not, what do you need today to get completion with that? So this is done either Thursday evening or early on Friday. And then they are given a list of assignments, so things that they're going to be needing to do, working on looking at their stresses and secondary gains. Even though they've done that prior to coming, we do that again. Work on imagery. They're given the assignment to do a drawing that if we work on imagery, we'll do together today, basically. Work on goals and how to begin to develop their goals, and work on support. We have very specific assignments for them on these to churn up and to begin the work moving in the direction that we want it to go. Monday afternoon, we start our afternoon sessions at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and go till 5:45, and you probably guessed dinner is at 6 o'clock. The afternoon, the work is on imagery, the use of the imagination in healing, and really look at it in the very broad sense of the use of the imagination in learning, because what we're doing is learning healthier behaviors and learning to extinguish unhealthy behaviors. And so imagery is the primary process. My own thinking and beliefs have changed dramatically about imagery over the years. And I still believe it's one of the most powerful things that we all do is use our imaginations. And so what we're attempting to do is to help our patients do it in systematic ways for the specific purpose of improving the quality of life, impacting in a significant way the course of disease, and improving the quality of death. Monday night, the patients work from 7 until 9. Do more work on the basics on beliefs, attitudes, and emotions, and watch a videotape on specifically a demonstration of behaviorally working with depression. Again, the patients are encouraged to take care of themselves, to leave any session when they feel a need to, in the middle of anything, and we have one standard rule, and that is that you can interrupt anything at any time with a joke. You see, the problem in a lot of group work is keeping the group serious. That ain't our problem. Okay. Our problem is keeping it light enough and having enough energy to keep working and not allow it to spiral down in a lot of heaviness and work. And the patients started seeing that in order to get well, I've got to work harder than I've ever worked before. And working and getting well is hard work. And I've got to grit my teeth, and all of a sudden death becomes more and more and more desirable. Because it is a lot of hard work to get well. And if I am going to do the hard hard work that I need in helping patients to get well, and if the patients are going to do the hard work that they need to do to get well, they need to do things that bring joy and vitality into their lives. Otherwise, they don't have the energy to do the hard work that's necessary to do. So we play music, and we tell jokes, and we attempt to laugh and make fun of anything. We try to hold nothing sacred, and that sometimes causes great difficulty. And then we work with that. So Tuesday morning, we begin to work with goals and the 2-year health plan, a specific way that we have of dealing with goals, attempting to make the goals gentle. This is one of the most difficult things. People arrive and they figure they've got to change their lives dramatically within a month at the most in order to get well. I've got to do all of this and make all these changes in order to get well. Because after all, I've been told that I have only 3 months to live, and that was a month ago, so I've only got 2 months left, so you bet your ass I've got to work real hard in order to get well. And so that is one of our biggest problems in dealing with the people, helping them to slow down, helping them to begin to appreciate that they have the time that they need to make the changes that are important to make. This is very difficult. And it's specifically difficult if I get caught up into the same belief and thought pattern, and if my therapists get caught up into that. So it's something we have to watch each other for, because that sort of panic is contagious and very understandable, and it's critical to deal with that. The way that we begin to address it is with the 2-year health plan. The primary focus of the 2-year health plan is where do they want to be 2 years from now? It's saying, I don't think you heard me. I only had 3 months to live, now it's down to 2. What do you mean 2-year goals, we're not communicating, And I mean, that's the problem that we start with. And that is a very, very big problem. Because the person is locked into the belief that they only have 2 months left to live. And that belief needs to change. So how we change that belief is behaviorally, with the behavioral model. This is the best thing that as far as I'm concerned, has happened to this work since I've been involved in it. And that is finding a way to systematically evaluate beliefs. So since that just came up, I'll stop and do that, because that's the way we do it when we're working. Is as soon as you run into the specific problem, then you begin to, and they would have learned these rules. They would have been addressed on Sunday night, and again on Monday morning, and now here we are Tuesday morning, and we're using the rules now. And these are the specific my modifications with Maltzby's help of his rules that he's used for a long time, and what he calls rational behavior therapy. But I don't use that term because it's not. He also uses in his writings healthy behavior therapy. So I use these as rules for developing healthy beliefs rather than rational beliefs, because rational and irrational get into connotations that are not productive. So there are 5 rules or 5 questions. 5 questions. I guess as I move, do you still hear me okay? So great. And walk around, get a little exercise while I'm there. Rule number one, and the way you use these is you take a rule, okay? The belief that we're working with here is the patient believes I have 2 months to live. Now, is that a fact? Okay, to the best of my understanding, is that a fact? Well, of course, the patient will begin to say, well, I was told by my oncologist that I have 3 months to live. But you see, their oncologist, number one, probably did not say that. And if their oncologist did, it's not factual. Okay? We're talking about probabilities, and no one knows how long the person has to live. So number one, it's not factual. So it doesn't satisfy question number one. Number 2, does that belief protect my...
What do you do if the patient
And
says...
now, write your questions down if you would. Otherwise, we will be here for 2 weeks and never get through. Okay? So you write them down. When we get through, we'll go back and address it. Thank you. The second is, does the belief protect my life and my health? Well, the person, again, the patient has to decide. Number one, is it factual? So you reason with them and look with them because ultimately it's the patient's decision. It's not my decision. It's the patient's belief. It's the patient's decision. And what we're looking at is, does the belief satisfy 3 of these 5? If it does, I need to protect that belief, take care of it. Okay. And if not, then I need to change it. So number 2, does that belief that I only have 3 months to live protect my life and my health? Okay. Does having that belief protect my life and my health? And that's important for the patient to look at, and to look at that in a variety of ways. Now, to begin with, I certainly believe that it does not protect the person's life and health. So we begin to discuss that back and forth, and they look and see whether or not they believe that believing that they have 2 months to live protects their life and their health. And so as far as I'm concerned, it would automatically fail the first 2. Number 3, does it help me achieve my short and long-term goals? Well, obviously not. I believe I have 2 months to live. It might help me a little bit in achieving some of my short-term goals, but it certainly is not going to be of much value in any of my long-term goals. Number 4, does it help me avoid my most undesirable conflicts? Possibly yes. Possibly yes. I mean, my wife is not going to fight with me if I believe I only have 2 months to live. Okay? May really, really help with that. Okay. And certain other conflicts, I get a parking, I get a ticket, cop pulls me over. Oh, I was just told I only have 3 months to live. Oh, I'm sorry I stopped you. Just go right on. Don't run over any. Yes, it helps me avoid some of my most undesirable conflicts. Number 4, does it help me feel the way I want to feel? Okay. Looking at, when I think about I only have 2 months to live, how do I feel? Usually it's angry, afraid, and depressed. Now, if I want to feel angry, afraid, and depressed, then the answer to that is yes. But most of us, if we're honest, all of us, if we're honest, that's not the way we want to feel. And honesty with ourselves is very important. So we find that probably this belief satisfies 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5. So we begin, now it's up to the person to develop a healthier belief. Okay? Healthier belief was, I have a serious illness that I may indeed die from, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a lot of healthy space to look at, because it's important to appreciate and acknowledge that we have a life-threatening situation so that we can meet our responsibilities and do what we need to do. And so that's how we would begin to work with that belief as we would with any belief that comes up. And it's not easy. And as we get into a lot of other beliefs, the beliefs tend to be complex with 5 or 6 or 22 or 14,000 variations of the same belief. And so it can get very complicated, and it's still workable and doable. And for the therapist to stay clear in helping the person work through this, especially around areas of depression where I feel hopeless about everything, and everything tags on to everything else, this becomes a very important process for doing the long-term work of making very significant changes in our emotional responses to difficult situations of life. So, also with Tuesday morning, we would look at issues of diet, exercise, and play as part of looking at goals. Tuesday afternoon, we would deal with concepts of stress, secondary gains, and the meaning of illness. And they would have assignments to do. Here is where the power of the group becomes very important, to get very close when they begin to see that they've all had similar stresses. They've all responded in similar ways. And here, as we begin to look at these stresses, we look at the stressful event. We look at what were their beliefs about the stressful event. Okay? My son got thrown into jail for taking drugs. Okay? That's the stressful event. And I've had a number of patients develop cancer and die around that primary stressful event. So what is my beliefs? Well, the number 1 unhealthy belief that tends to come up is that means I am a terrible parent. Okay? And so you begin to look at the beliefs. Okay, with that belief, how do I feel? And our feelings always follow our beliefs. So when I have the belief that I'm a terrible patient, how do I parent? Freud and Mesmer are consorting. So I begin to evaluate my beliefs around the stressful events, look at how I feel as a result of those beliefs, evaluate those beliefs for their relative health value, and then begin to shift those beliefs in a direction that I believe is good for my health. So the power is always back in the patient's hand, looking and evaluating their own beliefs. Now we may argue like hell over whether or not a belief is healthy or unhealthy, but ultimately it's the patient's decision. If they say, I disagree with it, fine. It's what makes the world go round. But we air our differences. And in the process, another patient in the room, and that the power of the group becomes very powerful, because metaphorically we see ourselves in the other people. And we can only resist looking at ourselves so long. So hopefully what's happening is the person is being exposed to a gentle, loving mirror. And I emphasize gentle and loving, because mirrors can be harsh and distorting and painful. And that's my objective. It certainly is not what I always achieve. Tuesday night would be elective from 7 to 9 for dealing with problems that have arisen. Our staff meetings are always at dinner time. My staff meetings are very short. I sit down with a therapist and a who's got home. When we come in Monday night for dinner for the first staff meeting, I've been looking around the room and I have a real clear idea who I'm concerned about. And so I'll start talking to that therapist. Generally, out of a group of 15 patients, there will be probably 2 that I'm concerned about. And so I'll start gathering information to see where is my discomfort. There may be a problem, it may be my projection on the situation. If there's a problem, then we enlist the help of all the staff to brainstorm how can we help this person move into a better place collectively. And so everybody then starts looking for the opportunities to help the person shift and avoid what I would be perceiving as impending catastrophe. This I find very helpful, very helpful. It certainly helps me sleep Monday night. Then I ask the therapists who they have concerns about. And I don't want to hear about so-and-so has cancer because she was raped by her father when she was 3. I'm not interested in interest, okay? Because everybody's interested, everybody has a unique story, and we all get caught up in the interesting stories of our patients, but that's not what we're interested in, and that becomes real important to clarify. Now, we're looking for potential fires that need to be put out. And I think we can all relate to that relatively well, or those of us who are on the boat can. So again, typical staff meeting, from my standpoint, would last 15 to 30 minutes. And then I open it up, and then people talk about what they're interested in. Then we talk about the woman who developed her cancer because she was raped by her father when she was 3, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's all important, but I've heard those sorts of things so many times over 20 years that that's not what I'm interested in sitting and listening to. I want to know where we're going to run into problems, because if one person starts to go downhill, it takes huge energy from the entire group. And if a person starts moving in an unhealthy direction, if they start deteriorating psychologically or physically, and most often it's physically, then that's where that becomes my patient along with whoever their therapist is. And if we're not able to change the direction of that in a short amount of time, then I start looking for how can they get out of this situation. Because we're doing our best and they're physically deteriorating, then obviously what we're providing is not what they need in order to get well. That's my belief. This doesn't happen often. Okay? This happens maybe 1 out of 50 to 1 out of 100 patients that comes in. And my objective when it starts to happen is to clarify that as soon as I can and help that person get into an environment for them is healthy in a situation of win-win, where they feel good about getting themselves into a better environment. That may be in a hospital, that may be back home, but usually it would be one of those two options. And doing it really quickly so that the other group feels good about what happened, they feel good about what happened, and helping them do it out of a place of power rather than a sense of failure. And I don't find that difficult to do if we identify it early and begin to work early with all the staff. And I can go into the specific problem there is usually the person has a very large amount of denial or got there because a family member wanted them to be there, and that's why they're there. They're not there because they want to be there, but because it was a lot of pressure in their home situation, and that we didn't pick that up in the screening process. And normally we do, but we're not perfect and won't be next week either. So Tuesday night is dealing with problems, and it's elective problems that have arisen. Usually that would be kind of an open process format. By this time someone may be feeling angry or guilty that we're trying to make them feel guilty for their cancer, and this is very important because we deal with that once and everybody's resolved that issue. We would have worked on that anyway on Tuesday afternoon, because that's when we work with issue of failure, guilt, and blame, when we talk about stress and secondary gains. But if that, we recently had someone who really got very distraught around that and spent about 2 hours on Tuesday night dealing with that issue. By the time she was comfortable with that issue, the entire group had moved so far in the area of responsibility that it was very profitable. So to me, we try to make a situation where the patient becomes very upset a positive learning experience for everyone. And the patient is usually the one who's upset, is the one that's learning the least from the experience. Wednesday morning, the focus is on communication and development of the support system. Very important session. We have the support people focusing on what is the patient doing, the identified patient doing that they believe is harmful to their health, and what are they not doing that they think they need to be doing in order to get well. And this is really helpful in clarifying a lot of really unhealthy beliefs that are going on in the family situation of the wife that believes that she's got to have the husband eating wheatgrass or he's going to die, and the husband furious because he can't have any pig fat. So, and those sorts of things, again, in an infinite number of directions. Wednesday afternoon, the work is on core beliefs and hope, trust, purpose, and the concept of inner wisdom. The core beliefs, it's my own belief that there are 7 core, well actually 4,320, but I condensed them down to 7. And those core beliefs are, what is my nature? What is the nature of my universe or God, or whatever term I'm comfortable using there, or Mother Nature, or beliefs about life. Why are we here? That sort of thing. Beliefs about death. And I'd say death we deal with specifically the next morning, so we don't deal very intensively with death at this point, because we're going to spend the entire morning on